It's a great honor and a privilege to introduce Igor Pirc. Here we in Slovenia, in the mountains. And Igor, you have such an amazing story.
Well, my family origins from Kropa. This is the place in the Upper Carniola, Gorenjska, Slovenia. And I was born 1946, after the war, in the house where my father had a factory of nails. And now, okay, you ask me about how the time of the Second World War was in my region. In April 1941, the Yugoslavia was invaded by the Third Reich. My brother was born 14 days before he should be born, due to the fact that the German tanks made noise over the bridge in the neighborhood of our house. Then the resistance started very early, already in 1941 in that region. My grandmother, the Germans, they organized school in German language, but the organization, domestic, started with secret school also for children in Slovene. My grandmother was teacher and my mother too, so they had illegal school for domestic children. My father went to the Partisans, to resistance, 1943, and he was 2 years absent. So my mother was running the factory, and then there are several stories about how the life was. In the near village there was a police station, German, and when they asked when in the case that partisans would come to the house, and that you been obliged to report that. And once happened that 2 partisans came and my mother didn't report it, and this neighbor reported it, and then the German policemen asked Mrs. Pirc, you didn't report it? And she said, well, I wanted to do that today. Another story was when 2 German soldiers came in the night. It was storm outside, it was raining, and they've been following some partisans, and they searched the house to look for, but nobody was found in the house. And then coming back to the door, one of them saw wet from the shoes,
Footprints.
Yeah, footprints, and he said, "Oh, there was somebody," and then he put his meister against my mother, and the second one said, "Fritz, these are your footprints when we came here." So another one was also, these are small stories, but okay, you remember them. During the war, this was a factory, and then we had office premises, and there was everybody was obliged to have Führer Hitler's portrait on the wall. And at the end of the war, everybody was preparing for the liberation, and then my mother was preparing the flag of Slovenia and Yugoslavia with the red star and so on. And then the Yugoslav army comes to the village, and they entered the office, and they saw the picture of Hitler on the wall. And they, always there was, you've been collaborating. And my mother said, no, we forgot to take it down because we prepared the flags and so on. Yeah. Well, my father spent 2 years in the woods during the summer, during the winter. It was hard time. All the time sleeping, no in bed, but always on, outside or some barracks, or they had a lot to move because the Germans have been following them, and so. But okay, the time of end of the war came, and then we've been happy then to live in peace.
But you must be very proud that your father was part of the resistance, part of the partisans.
Yeah,
You must be. It's
sure,
a very, very
sure,
proud to, because
Yeah.
he sacrificed his life to do
I
that.
think that Yugoslavia was one of the most, let's say, active in the resistance. I know additionally Norwegians, they had also partisans.
But Yugoslavia in particular.
Yugoslavia particularly, it was at the end of the war very strong army. And parts of Yugoslavia, or let's say, I know for Slovenia, here in the south, they've been a free territory for a year, last year of the war. So the Germans couldn't get there. Yeah, and there was a small airport, and the Allies came by planes and took the wounded people, and that was quite good organized resistance. We had a lot. This is a specialty. A lot of hidden hospitals in the forests. So one of them, Franja, is world known, is under the UNESCO protection. In the small gorge, they built barracks, and they had room for surgery and a lot of things. And then there have been in the treatment more than 500 people during the 3 years of the war. Wow. And my father was also wounded, and he was in another hospital called the first one was called Franja, because the doctoress was Franja Bidovec, and my father was in the hospital Paula. And we met with my brother, that doctoress Paula, who had been taking care for our father.
Wow.
20 years ago, many years after the World War. And she was very happy that we visited her, and then she went in the other room and brought a small paper where it was stated Igor Pirc wounded in the leg.
Wow, amazing.
Yeah,
Igor.
Yeah. Okay.
But Igor, yesterday in the museum where the exhibition was held in Kran, so we read that the person who owned the building, he went into the resistance, and unfortunately he was killed. Mm-hmm. He was taken away and he was killed, but he was also part of the resistance.
Many lost their lives in the woods, because the partisans, they had not heavy weapons, they had only guns and maybe some we call mitrailleuse, some automatic guns, but not lot, because they had not cars and to move on the roads, but only on the forest, where you could go up and down and yeah.
It's very good to hear, and I must mention with Thomas Zeitz, the lady that saved him, a Jewish little boy, he was a baby, and she said it was my illegitimate son, and she was only 19, and all her neighbors knew that she didn't have an illegitimate son, but nobody from her neighbors they never ever told the Germans, or they kept it as a secret, which is quite rare, because in many other places people did inform, and it was very dangerous. If you did hide a Jewish child, you could get killed. Many times you were killed.
Such critical situations, they split people in good people and not good bad people. So it's nice to hear that everybody was aware of what could happen if somebody would denounce them.
Well, Igor, thank you very, very much.
Okay, I'm glad to.
And you can be very proud of your father and basically of Yugoslavia, that it actually did have a resistance. And I think the other very important part of the resistance in Yugoslavia is that they accepted everybody into the resistance. It was
Moshe Pijade, for example, he was a Jew.
Yeah. Because there were some countries with the resistance where they wouldn't accept Jews into the resistance. But Yugoslavia was different.
Yeah, all religions, all nations, all languages, Slovene, Croat, Serb, Macedonian, also Albanian, I think, all of them been in partisan units.
Anyway, thank you very, very much.
Thank you too.